The candidates, as you've heard, caused some controversy in that big commander-in-chief forum last night. Take a look at what Donald Trump said about the U.S. military.
Well, the generals under Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have not been successful.
Do you know more about ISIS than they do?
I think under the leadership of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, the generals have been reduced to rubble. They have been reduced to a point where it's embarrassing for our country.
What would Ronald Reagan say about a Republican nominee who attacks America's generals and heaps praise on Russia's president? I think we know the answer.
But Mr. Trump was not alone in causing some consternation. Here's Hillary Clinton from last night.
We are not putting ground troops into Iraq ever again, and we're not putting ground troops into Syria. We're going to defeat ISIS without committing American ground troops.
Then she also falsely said there's no ground troops in Iraq, even though we have 5,000 military personnel there right now.
Joining us now is former strategic advisor to General John Allen, Andrew Peek, and U.S. Army veteran and author of the new book, Danger Close, My Epic Journey as a Combat Helicopter Pilot in Iraq and Afghanistan, Amber Smith. Welcome to you both. Let me ask you, Andrew, when you heard Donald Trump say that about the military, the generals being reduced to rubble, what was your reaction?
Well, frankly, it's a time-honored tradition for American soldiers to criticize their top leadership. My reaction was this, this probably puts him over the top with the military vote. But no, in seriousness, I would say that this White House has continually overruled its military brass. I'm reminded of 2009 when President Obama sent General Stan McChrystal, his hand-picked commander in Afghanistan, not nearly as many as the minimum amount of troops McChrystal requested to complete the mission. And that's fair. He's the commander-in-chief, and that's his prerogative to overrule his generals. But it's then also fair to say the generals have been emasculated by the White House.
Well, I mean, do you think the generals that you served would agree with that characterization, that they've been emasculated?
I think, yes, I think on the Afghanistan decision, I think it is no coincidence that at CENTCOM, analysts are cooking the books to try to give the CENTCOM commanders the intelligence necessary to make the war against ISIS.
CENTCOM being?
Central Command, sorry, that's running the war against ISIS.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Is cooking the books to give those generals the ability to tell the White House that the current strategy against ISIS is succeeding. I think these things fall into a pattern. And certainly there's outliers. But the way to get to the top under this administration is to carry water, and I think that's unfortunate.
Amber, let me ask you, if I may, about what Hillary Clinton said about no ground troops. First of all, obviously there's some there now, as has been pointed out. I think she later has recognized that. But what about the question of what if they're needed?
Yeah, absolutely. What we heard Hillary Clinton say last night, that there's no U.S. boots on the ground right now, is a flat-out lie. We know that there's over 5,000 U.S. troops in Iraq right now fighting ISIS, and that to me is more insulting to our military, who is fighting a war right now, than what Donald Trump said about generals in the first place. And so I think that that was completely out of touch with how she is going to, or how she could potentially run and manage a war and be a commander-in-chief of our military. What we saw from Hillary Clinton was just a continuation of the way we've seen President Obama run wars and mismanage operations in the Middle East for the past 8 years. It's been a complete mess, and we've seen from Hillary Clinton that she's just going to continue on that sort of strategy.
But is it the right thing to say, or the right policy to have, that you're simply not going to add any more troops in that theater?
No, absolutely not. It was a flat-out lie. Because
no, I understand that there's some there. I'm talking about adding some. You take my point. In other words,
yeah, absolutely. I get that. But that's what I'm saying is, of course, there is potential for more U.S. boots on the ground in the Middle East. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The Middle East is far worse off today than it was yesterday. And so, of course, there's going to be some potential for a larger ground U.S. involvement inside the Middle East, especially if we're ever going to get serious about destroying ISIS and not letting them, hold the ground that they've held in Iraq for over 2 years now.
Andrew and Amber, thanks to you both.